So welcome to Quick AI Wins, Insights from the Pros. I'm your host, Ryan Wong, and today I have Marcio, and he runs his own marketing agency that helps clients increase their funnels and get them more clients. So Marcio, do you want to explain more about what you do?
Yeah, for sure. First off, thank you so much for having me on, Ryan. I've learned a lot from you already. And what we do here at Nerd Digital is we help people go from 0 to 1 with their marketing. Mm-hmm. We help people who are specifically struggling to build a funnel that attracts qualified leads and converts them every day. And so we help you figure out what are the right words, what are the right images, and what are the right offers that you need to put in front of cold traffic so that you can build a funnel and get consistent leads on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
That's pretty cool. I think anyone who's starting a new startup or a new product could really benefit from your services. So how have you used AI to help with this process? Like, what are some stuff that you've found that like, oh, you can do this? And maybe if you can show some examples, that would be cool so that more people can know about it.
Yeah. So I'm definitely not the vanguard user of AI yet. I don't use it everywhere and all the time, and I don't go in full depth in my process. But there are a few places where I use it that I wanted to share with you. Mm-hmm. And so what I was thinking about before the call was I could maybe walk you through the process. So from like my sales process and my delivery process. And then through there, I could just walk you through, okay, I use AI here. Okay?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Okay, so let's start at, let's say this discovery and sales call part. So that's right at the beginning after somebody's found me and they book a call and we get on a call. So I use AI. I use to help me figure out what is this person interested in? What are some of the pain points, objectives that they have, some of the objections, and what do they really want to get out of working with me? And I use a tool called Fathom.ai to record the call for me. It creates the notes. And then I basically, after the call, I review the notes. And then that helps me to figure out, okay, how am I going to follow up with this person? So if they're looking for something specifically around leads, then I'll make sure my follow-up talks about that. If the notes highlight something about working with previous clients or previous providers, and the providers, left some gaps in A, B, C places, I make sure to mention how I can solve those problems for them and how we've mitigated that. So that's the first place where I use AI. Once the person becomes a client, then what I'll do is I create a custom GPT for them. So my process, I have it documented in a Google Doc. And what I do is I then go into ChatGPT and I'll simply open up create a new GPT and I'll feed it my instructions, right? So that are in this Google Doc. Mm-hmm. And from there, I'll continuously optimize and feed this GPT as I work with the client. So that's like the first step. Next, I'll send the client either the doc, or I'll work through the doc with them as an onboarding call, where I'll basically answer all the questions that are in this Google Doc. And it's all the things that you would expect from a marketing perspective. So who's your target customer? What's your ICP? What makes your product or service different? What are the pains, outcomes, and all these things that you talk about in your advertising right now? And I take all that information. I also use AI to, again, record the call, feed that into my Google Doc, and then I update their GPT, right? So from an onboarding perspective, that's how I use AI. Do you have any questions so far, or do you want me to keep going?
Oh, I think that makes sense. So like you're bringing onboarding, like a GPT that knows that client very well.
Yeah. And then once I have that, I go into back into ChatGPT and I go into my sprint one. So my sprint one means, so just to give you some context, I have these 6 sprints that I work through with people when they're starting to, they want to get their ad and their landing page working. And so in sprint 1, what we try to identify are the pain points that they need to identify for their audience. So a lot of people, when they start advertising, they will build an entire ad, and the ad will have might mention pain points, might mention outcomes, might mention an offer, an image, headlines, primary copy, a whole bunch of stuff in it. And when they run their ads, if they don't work, they don't know exactly what didn't work. Was it the pain point they mentioned? Was it the outcome? Was it the image? Was it any one of those many variables? And so what's unique about our process is that we break apart all of those pieces into many little tests. And so in sprint 1, we just test the pains. And so I use AI to help me to brainstorm and generate different pain point statements. And so I will go back into my GPT. I'll feed it again with some information, say, hey, it's time to go to sprint 1 for this client. Let's come up with these I statements. I'll generate the I statements, and then I'll review them just visually to see whether or not I think they're aligned with the client. Because sometimes GPT can come up with ideas that aren't really a fit. Maybe it might come, if you're working on a B2B thing, it might come up with e-commerce ideas. If you're with e-commerce, it might come up with B2B things. So I'll just do a spot check for that. And I'll also ask GPT sometimes to prioritize which of the statements that are most aligned for the entire funnel. So this is something that is not really part of my process, but it's one of the things that I like to do, which is I want to figure out what is the narrative of your funnel. And so I want to make sure that the pain points are aligned to that as well. So I'll run my tests in Facebook ads, then I'll take my results, and then I'll pick my winners, and I'll feed my GPT again, and then we'll move on to sprint 2 if we have enough winners. And so that's essentially how I go about my process. It's me to the client, then to the GPT, and then I'll go to Facebook ads, collect my data, and then go back to the client, go back to GPT, Facebook ads, and basically
so it's almost like having that marketing assistant that you would pay like a lot of money to do. Like you have that as the GPT now instead of having that person.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to summarize it. Yes, it's that marketing assistant, and it's also this extra brain because it relieves a lot of the stress from having to remember and think about what's best for this client, what's best for that client, and remember data points and remember what tests have we run in the past, what did we learn in the past. That's something that I find, after doing marketing for so many years, we have a culture here at Nerd Digital where we help clients to develop this ability to test and develop this ability to learn. And that's not something that I've experienced in other places. A lot of the times the marketing is simply, let's run this campaign, and the campaign worked, but there isn't a clear understanding of what exactly did you learn. Did you learn that these words worked better than these words? That this outcome was more important for your audience than this outcome? Did you learn that this avatar is actually willing to pay you more than this avatar? There aren't clear learnings. And so that's something that I really appreciate about our process now, after a decade of trying stuff out, that I think works really well. And I really appreciate how GPT allows me to have that memory and store that memory over and over again. I can simply refine and build on what we've learned through each sprint.
I see. That's very helpful. So is that your main use case, or is there anything else that you think that people should know about, like that they can use in marketing? Yeah,
so that is the overall, that's the main way that I'm using GPT and using AI at the moment. I do use AI with image generation as well. So one of my processes in one of the steps in sprint 4 is we start to test images. So once we figured out the messages in sprints 1, 2, and 3, we figure out what images we need to use to work. And so in trying to figure out images, I use GPT as well in DALL-E to generate images for me. But I'm not the best at it. Some of the images that I've generated have done well, and some of them have not. Whereas some of the ones that I just handpick myself, or some people on my team will pick, sometimes those work better. So we still haven't reached a well-refined process in terms of using AI to generate images for us and generate the creative that turn into the final ads for us yet. But that's definitely something that we're working on, and I want to improve on. Because
have you tried using the other ones, like Midjourney? Their ones, like DALL-E is actually the worst of all of them.
Oh,
so
really?
Ability, yeah. So there's like Flux, there's Midjourney, there's Leonardo, there's Meta. Meta has one as well. So you can use if you use Meta.ai, you can have it generate images for you as well. You can do it on WhatsApp as well, so it's pretty cool.
Really?
I would look at trying using some of those. DALL-E is the worst. I would not use DALL-E.
That's good to know. And what about the prompts for those tools? Do they need to be very different, or could I use the exact same ones?
You can use the same ones. So there's a few strategies you can do for images. So one is basically you do the prompt yourself. Another one is you can upload an image. Tell me, give me the prompt for the image. And then you can put it in and tweak it a little bit and then get what you want.
Interesting.
Yeah. The only weakness I would say about the images is if you need to make consistent images across. So like I have some clients where we have to do a storybook and you need the same character on each page. That gets very dicey. Like we figured out how to do it, but it's not very easy for a normal user to do. So if it's one-off images, it's perfectly good. But yeah, that's what
I see what you mean. Yeah, keeping the consistency. If you have like,
and don't make it do text. It's still terrible at text. Like putting text in the image, it's not good for that still.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that, Ryan. So yeah, after Sprint 4, we figure out the image, and then in Sprint 5, yes, we'll go back to GPT to help us with copy. So with copy, usually I like to take two main approaches. One is like this pain-based copy. The other one is more outcome-based copy. And it's essentially the same type of story. We just have a different starting point. And so I use GPT to help me craft different hooks at the top. One is more outcome focused, one is more pain focused. And it's sometimes for different clients, for different ads, it'll work differently. Some audiences respond more to pain, some audiences respond more to an outcome. So that's part of Sprint 5. And then Sprint 6.
One trick I can tell you, someone told me about this, was that if you wanted to tell a story, you can tell AI, you can tell ChatGPT, say that, make this a journal entry, or this is my personal journal, and suddenly it will write way more smoothly, like it's like a story. Yeah, that's a very cool trick someone told me about. You know, sometimes it's very clunky, the story. It's like, why'd you say that here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you can change the language. You tell, I'll use grade 8 English, and it'll use simpler words. But sometimes that's not enough, right? So if you want to be fluid, I talked to someone else, he was on the other podcast, where he does email marketing, and that's what he does. He does it right as it's a journal entry, and it would help.
That's very interesting. Again, I'm going to have to try that. Thank you. Okay, and then in Sprint 5, so Sprint 5 we write copy. In Sprint 6 and 7 and 8, then we move on to, I don't use AI very much, actually, at all, because at that point what we're doing is we're just working on the landing page. And so through sprints 4 and 3, from 1 to 4, I figured out, all the messaging, the pain points, the outcomes, the offer, and the creative. And so all the winning creative, the messaging, outcomes, and pain points, I simply take them and I basically just create the landing page using everything that I've tested. So everything that goes on the landing page, I know that it works.
So I have a question. Before this, in phase 1, we did the ad. They already have an existing landing page, and that's how you know it worked? Like just the ad to the landing page, or? No,
I don't. So very good question. I don't. I only test for clicks when I'm testing messages. I don't look for conversions. We're just looking to see whether or not we can stop people and get their attention for the specific pain point or the specific outcome, because that's the only challenge we're fighting at that moment. We're not trying to build an entire funnel. We want to know what is the pain point that people are actively clicking on, or if I show them these words, would they stop from whatever they're doing, from watching Game of Thrones, from looking for dates or buying food? Can I get them to stop and consider these words? Do these words resonate, and will they click on it? If they click on it, that is a really valuable data point, because it's showing me I stopped them from doing something and I got them to take an action, which is click. This is very different from other marketing approaches, which will tell you to ask people what they might do, right? If you stop somebody in the street and ask them, what would you do in this situation if I showed you this image versus this image? That's very different than showing somebody an image on Facebook, a real ad, and then getting them to click, right? The data there is completely different. When you ask somebody in a survey, and you ask them for their opinion of what might happen, that's clouded with noise.
Yeah,
they're going to
rationalize it. They're rationalizing it versus the other one's unconscious, where I'm like seeing for the first time.
Right. They might answer you because they like you. They might answer you different because they don't like you. They might answer you because they just had a donut. it could change in so many ways. They might answer you based on who's walking by them, right? They might answer you based on how they want you to perceive them. Whereas the click is void from all, removed from all of that noise. It's simply, did you get their attention? Did they click? And you can really judge that click based on what it did. You show them an image, they clicked on it or they didn't. And so at that point, we don't even worry about the landing page. Just as long as they're sending data to our pixel, then that's all that matters. And when it comes into pixel as well, we use state.io to publish our pixels and our platform for Meta, so that we use the CAPG, I think it's called, protocol, so that we get data directly from the server and not rely on cookie data. And that we've seen improvements there from 13% cost improvement and 20% conversion improvement when using state.io.
I see. That's pretty cool. Like how you have a different approach to the funnel and like using AI as the marketing system. So if people want to get in touch with you or learn more, like where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, just head over to nerddigital.com. That's nerddigital.com. And you can just check out one of our free resources that are there, or you can send me a message. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Marcio Santos, and you'll find me there. Yeah,
cool. So if anyone wants his contact information, just DM a comment below, and we'll share that. And I hope to see you next time at another event.
Yes, for sure, man. Yeah, your event was great. Thank you so much. I even shared a testimonial. I thought it was really well organized. Lots of great people. I think the fractional CXO type of approach is a really good type of way of bringing in a lot of smart people, and it was a great event. So, yeah, thanks, and it's a pleasure to be on here with you, man.